Welcome people to the World Wide Web. So it's a little bit late to the party, or my reviews are normally at the weekend, and I know I had Astro City, but obviously at the weekend I went away with two of fellow YouTubers, AJ's Movie Place and Matt's V Movies. We went to London, we went to the IMAX. We'd all never been in IMAX before, and we went to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, a few things. First, obviously, there's nothing after the credits or that, so it's good. You don't have to hang around for that. Anybody who doesn't know, obviously, this is the 5th outing for Indiana Jones. Supposedly, this is it. This is the last one, and they have reasons for that. From what you see in the trailer and the whole initial story is the fact that Indy, being around the end of World War II, he trying to get this treasure, comes across part of this Dial of Destiny. I mean, the first few scenes and stuff are really quite good. The CG is good majority of the time. There are a few issues and stuff. Then obviously after this incident, he manages to get this treasure. It's not something he was actively looking for. He's looking for a spear, and anyway, and there is a Mads Mikkelsen, or however you pronounce him, from Hannibal and stuff. He is kind of an evil scientist who's trying to kind of stop him a little bit with a general from the German army. It happens, they manage to, obviously as Indiana's fashion stars, he manages to save the day, save his friend, and manages to get the half of the dial. And then basically we have a time skip from what would be like the 40s up until I think 60s, 70s. This is obviously Harrison Ford's a lot older, he's retired, and then he has his goddaughter, as you've seen in the trailer. She has been looking into the Dial of Destiny, and then it kind of spirals from there, and then the German who was after him in the past is back again, and then we roll on. That is the premise roughly of the story. It's all right as films go. I will go more into depth when I put a spoiler review up in a minute. There were some things they did well, there were some things they didn't do. I'm not quite sure overall why the whole premise of the story, and specifically the last third of it, and I'm sure a lot of people will have the same problem. But yeah, and there's they kind of go for a specific theme in this, and I think again it was they didn't learn their lesson from the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But by the by, anyway, let's get the spoiler review up and let's get into it. So this is quite a long film. I will give you that. There's a lot. I think it is a bit slow paced as well. When I say it starts off, they've de-aged Indy. He is a lot younger. I mean, the de-age and stuff, it worked for the majority of it. It worked really, really well. Like there's he's been hanged by a noose, and the noose doesn't quite look right, but his face looks brilliant, you know. And I thought they did that really well. There was some CG where he's running on a train, and that didn't look well. There was because this is all set at night, there are 1 or 2 scenes that is very, very dark. I don't know why Disney keep doing this, but by the by. But for the most part, the German scene was really good. It set it up. Obviously, Indy had tried to infiltrate this German compound to get this artifact. He gets caught. His friend also gets caught. And while they're trying to recover that artifact, it turns out that it's a fake. But they found another artifact while they're there, and this is part of the Dial of the Destiny. Obviously, this professor who's there, he's after it. And you know, obviously, like in the old fashion, he manages to get away and force all the bad guys, job done, and that's where we leave it. And obviously then we have the time skip, and then the time skip obviously is to the moon landing, and that is kind of a bit of a focus. It turns out that this German scientist actually kind of defected to the America, and he helped him get to space. And that is his kind of peripheral, and then they are kind of, and then they're still actively after the Dial of Destiny. This is where Phoebe Waller, what's I put the right name? Phoebe Bridge Waller. She comes in as Indy's goddaughter, and yeah, and then it kind of goes on a little bit of spiral. I mean, the gap within itself, I think, was a bit of a bad ploy. I think like people didn't learn, and I had this discussion with AJ and Matt, that obviously when, like with Star Wars, we all grew up with Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker was, you know, wasn't who he is, and he is at the Return of the Jedi, and that's where we kind of last saw him. And then when you take him forward to The Last Jedi, I believe it is, and then he's an old man, so much time has changed, and you don't really get to see much of that story. You don't kind of evolve with the character, you don't come along the story, so it's almost like they brought in someone new who kind of resembles it but don't, but you've missed that big gap. Obviously they had the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which explained a few little bits that have gone on, but yeah, I felt there was a bit of disconnection there. He's very an old grumpy man, he is what he is, and he's lost his spark, and there's a lot of personal stuff that is going on with him. His goddaughter comes in, obviously swindles him at the dial, and this is where then you have this Doctor is coming with his associates. So you have kind of his goddaughter after the part, which you believe initially is she's after treasure, but she's actually kind of a smuggler slash sells stuff on the black market and stuff, and gets in with the wrong people. Indy kind of then falls into the spot of he's running from the Germans who are after her, but kind of has to help her out. She does have a little sidekick, which is obviously following a few little traits from earlier. I didn't relate very much to that character at all. He kind of a bit of a nuisance. Some stuff he was very good at pickpocketing. One of two scenes he's got something. There's a lighter scene where they just, it doesn't, you know, it just is. He's very good at pickpocketing. 1 minute he can just bounce into people and stuff. The next minute he's trying to pickpocket this guy and very slowly, and I'm just like, anyway. So anyway, to get off the point, that is where you go. Obviously the daughter is looking for the Dial of Destiny, and then kind of that is how they go. They are all trying to chase after it, and they go from one bit to they go from America, before he leaves America, you get to see Salah, who comes back in, who's Jonathan Rhys Davis. Love him from Sliders, and that loved him from the originals. He obviously doesn't, unfortunately, he only doesn't leave America. You don't really get to see him that much. A bit of a shame. I think he did want to do more, but maybe because of his age. They obviously bring in Antonio Banderas, and his character is almost a waste of time. They do like some underground stuff, underwater stuff with him, and even that was a bit like, it just didn't seem, to kind of relic hunter. Like, it's kind of almost the old man Tomb Raider, and then you get to points in that, and it was really good when they're going through time and solving puzzles and stuff, and those are the bits I liked. And it's like, well, this is who Indy is, this is what it should be. It should be from puzzle to puzzle to puzzle, not you're just running from this person, running from this person, running from this person. And yeah, and that's how kind of the story hodgepodges it all the way across until you get to this point where the bad guy as always gets the dial, and you turn out that the dial is obviously it goes through time. Doesn't really kind of explain how the time works, and then obviously they shoot Indy, they have him captured, they flying into this portal, and the whole plan is these agents who are helping the Doctor are actually Germans, and are all going to go back and kill Hitler because they want to sort out that the Germans win, because obviously they think Hitler is the weak part in this calculation. And then they fly for this time portal, and obviously when we got to this point and you're thinking they're doing time travel now, like obviously with Aliens with the Crystal Skull, it's like, why, who come up with this? But not only that, but when they go through this portal they end up in Rome, and there's a battle with the Romans and stuff, and this is when it goes even worse, like screwing up history. Oh my god, they couldn't have done. There's a World War II plane, or you know, or 60s 70s type airship that crashes in Roman times. There are soldiers that die and get killed in with that. They have weapons, they have watches, there's stuff, and it's just like, hang on, you would have screwed up a lot of the timeline anyway. Indy wants to stay. He gets knocked out by his goddaughter, who manages to stow aboard, and then they make it back to the real world, and then kind of he has his connection with Marion, and then he kind of takes her hat at the very end. And it's almost like, yeah, it is kind of an ending, but outside of this story, when they are looking for the Dial of Destiny, they go, Indy has hidden it, he's hidden it in the place he works, where he's just retired. These people go in and shoot a load of people, and people believe Indy's the person at fault. He killed them. Now obviously him and them coming back in time, or going back in time and then coming back again. Not only would he have maybe screwed up the whole history, but if he comes back to the same timeline, he's still wanted for murder. Everybody who was actually responsible for these murders are dead, either in Roman times or that. And it's just like, for films, I'm like, why don't you fill little holes in? Why don't you do these explanations? Why they wanted to do time travel, I don't know. For me, because of his goddaughter, and it seems like her dad, who was with him in the very train sections and stuff like that, was with him. To me, I would have liked him to actually travel back to either something of the previous films, or worse, travel back to the beginning of the film and actually, like when they get out of the water and Indy's like, oh, I could at least have someone bump into him, like in the next scene, and him kidnap the dial, and then his dad never goes crazy, and then it would then kind of change the history from after the original 3 films. It would then possibly erase Kingdom, the last 4th film that everyone hated, and then you could kind of, and then you just have the assumption that he then goes on to live a happy life, job done. Or really what they should have done is just gone, they de-aged him for the first section. I don't know, they could have easily carried on and de-aged him a lot of it and just had another story after World War II and kept it that way. That would be my mindset. For me, I say it was very slow paced. I was bored. Little places I didn't really like. His goddaughter, I say you didn't have really no connection to her, and she's showboating and just being a bit of an idiot. And obviously they're just kind of bringing her in, I think, with her psychic to maybe take over the Indiana Jones type role. Didn't work for me. Mads, however you pronounce the name, is this evil German scientist. He was very flat through most of it, just very boring. I thought there's no real emotion to his character. He's just like, I want this, and I mean, and then just the decisions of some of the stuff they were doing, like they were shooting people on the street, they were shooting people here, like, you know, how you were getting away with this. They went back in time, they're shooting Romans and stuff, and I was like, what is their logic? But, you know, there was a lot of stuff that just did not make sense. I would have loved, or I would love to see what the story was like when this was initially pitched, because I'm like, if they had learned anything from the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, they would be like, let's keep it more to the original films. It's, you know, searching for relics. It's something, and don't get me wrong, like the first film where he opens the tomb and it gives people all the glass where it makes death. Stuff like that is acceptable because it's just a little bit like fringe science, a little bit, and it can't be explained. Not going with aliens or time travel or stuff like this. Like, I think that is just too far out of the spectrum of what Indiana Jones is as an archaeologist and as a you know, a explorer of you know, of tombs and stuff, like a bit like a Tomb Raider kind of speak, and that's there. I mean, overall, I would give this a film of 5 out of 10. I give it 5 out of 10. It's worth a watch. I probably will buy it because I have 1 to 4 and it fits in the journey. It fits in the story, you know, it adds in there. But I really don't know what they were thinking and when they did this. I know it's his last outing. He obviously is quite old. There is a lot of CG. I mean, and the CG for most of it and the de-aging and a lot of stuff worked really well. The green screens and stuff. Most of it you couldn't tell to or was of a good enough standard. It did mean, I reckon, a lot of stunt doubles were used for a lot of his. But yeah, I just would like more of the archaeology of him searching places and going there and doing this and doing that. And I really would have hoped they would have focused the story mainly on that, and, you know, just had his, you know, maybe his goddaughter had some connections or some help and she would help him out, and then just slowly build up his character, not just kind of throw her in people's faces and stuff. And there's nothing against the actress Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I haven't pronounced the name. You know, it wasn't that she was a bad actress. I just think the role that she was written and how she portrayed it just didn't work in the whole Indiana Jones world, and I think that is a problem that happens a lot today. And unfortunately, I say this will probably elevate the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull above that, because I think a lot of people now think that is a better film than this one. But then we are now sitting where we have 3 really good films and two that aren't the best, and it's like, if you try anything more that's not very good with Indiana Jones, you're going to be like Star Wars trilogy stuff now. You're going to start annoying people who like the original. But anyway, that is my review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have you watched it? Did you agree? Did you not agree? I know, I say, AJ's got some videos up of what he thinks. He has another theory, and I tried to stay away from that. But yeah, please do watch his videos as well. I'll try and put a link as well, because I think it'll be quite interesting. I'll be watching it after this video as well. But otherwise, I'm a Cypher Sigma, and I should definitely see you in the next one.